PFAS, polyfluorinated alkyl substances in that foam. Leaked out near adit number 6. We were made aware of it first. I was made aware first. I guess a certain reporter with Civil Beat did inquire with us if we are aware of it, and we said we hadn't received no information from the Navy or the Department of Health. Subsequently, at about, I think it was around 6:45 p.m., I did get a contact from the Director of Health informing me of this release. And thereafter, maybe just before 8, the Navy, an admiral in the Navy did contact me and to give me an update of what happened. Of course, I wanted to get more information. So one thing I'd like to request of the Navy and also our regulators, when you first become aware of something like this happening at Red Hill, because the Board of Water Supply, we represent the people of our community that depend on this water resources, to please call us immediately. All of the officials have my cell phone number, and they can just reach out to me, text me, or just call me on my cell, and because we need to know right away if something as serious as this has happened. So that would be my request to them. We do not want to see these types of chemicals in our being released over our important aquifers, our freshwater resources, because these things can pose serious threats to our drinking water resources, and they are persistent in the environment. The EPA is actually looking at regulating some of these substances next year. And even maybe classifying some of them as hazardous materials. So they are very serious. We want to keep them out of our environment. Thanks to Mr. Erwin Kawata, my deputy manager, we've actually run tests for these chemicals at all of our wells over the last 2 years in preparation for future regulation by the EPA. And I'm just glad to say at this time, I think we've only found some low levels in 2 of the wells. And all the other wells, we haven't detected any of these PFAS type of chemicals in them. I am going to distribute today a copy of a letter that we just sent this morning, addressed to Martha Guzman, the Regional Administrator for Region 9, US EPA, and Dr. Elizabeth Char, the Director of the State Department of Health. And this letter basically makes some demands of our regulatory agencies, and asking them to demand of the Navy that they begin immediately weekly testing of all Navy monitor wells, and including Red Hill Shaft for PFAS, to the lowest detection levels possible by approved laboratory methods. We also ask that the regulatory agencies demand from the Navy to fully disclose all past AFFF uses and any PFAS compounds from the time AFFF systems were installed at Red Hill, and also including the records of all AFFF releases to the present. We need to know what we're dealing with. And right now, we're dealing with 104 million gallons of fuel, and now we have to add on to that PFAS, these forever chemicals that are potential, are risks to our water resources. I must say that this issue was something that I asked the regulators almost 6 months ago for information, and to require the Navy to do these tests. So I'm not asking anymore. I'm demanding that we have a right to know what's stored there and being used at Red Hill, in addition to the 104 million gallons of petroleum. We want to know what kind of chemicals are being stored there and used on that facility that could be a risk to the environment. And if they must use these foam systems, then they should select products that do not are not placing our environment at risk. And there are options for them to convert to safer foam, firefighting foam systems, and they should consider that. So this is copies of the letter is going to be shared with all of you. I'm sorry, I couldn't get a good night's sleep last night. Because it was like at 2 o'clock in the morning. And not a literal scream or cry, but in my mind, it almost felt like I heard a scream or cry of our aquifer, the vi in our aquifer in that area crying out to say, no more contamination. Don't put any more contamination into our precious vi. So I would hope the Navy would consider, no, I don't hope, I demand of the Navy, you need to move faster. The AFFF systems only exist because there's still petroleum stored there at Red Hill. Remove the petroleum, and there's no need for AFFF there or any other dangerous chemicals that might be stored at Red Hill. So they need to shorten the time frame for removal of the 104 million gallons of fuel. And they need to be more transparent with our community. So my request is that they need to also expand the information sharing forum to include organizations like the Sierra Club or the Oahu Water Protectors, representatives from them, also on the information sharing forum. And the information sharing forum, and I thank Admiral Wade for his idea of creating that, but it needs to share information in a timely way to all the stakeholders. So the moment it happens, just to alert us that it's happened, to give us even the bare minimum details of something that has happened, to keep us all informed. It is important that the Navy continue to keep the regulators and the community informed of what's happening at Red Hill, almost on a real-time basis. And that's all I had to say this morning.
Thank you, Ernie, for talking to us today. We really appreciate it. The Navy said that the spill yesterday happened at 1 p.m. When did the Navy notify the Board of Water Supply? What was that length of time? And did the Navy share with you any possible reason why there was a spill? Because during yesterday's phone conference, they didn't have a reason.
The timeline was about 6 or 7 hours later. I got the text message and phone call. And I appreciate that. That came from Admiral Jeff Killian. He did that on his own. Prior to that, I had attempted to reach Admiral John Wade by cell phone. We also exchanged our cell phone numbers, so I called them as soon as I heard of the situation. And that was 6 to 7 hours. I think that's too long. It could have been a lot faster. The Department of Health, from what we heard from them, and you can ask them that kind of question, I think they were informed around 3 or 3:30 in the afternoon. The event occurred someplace around 1 or 1:30. So the timelines for informing the stakeholders and the regulatory agency should be shorter.
Have you been given any reason why this spill happened?
All right, that is Ernie Lau with the BWS speaking right there live. Our Mahealani Richardson is there as well and will be bringing you updates on this foam spill situation. But